Coming up today, our spring training special. We go live to Surprise, Arizona, that is. Meet the Royals head team physician caring for the players. Plus, the unsung heroes keeping athletes' bodies ready to play ball. Here, Royals players highlight the important work of those athletic trainers. And Tommy John surgery as a teen. See a high school pitcher getting professional level care. Good morning and happy finally Friday. It's March 17th. I'm Jessica Lovell and welcome to the Morning Medical Update. We are just 13 days away from the Royals home opener at Kauffman Stadium. But baseball is already begun down south in Arizona. Dr. Vincent Key, he is joining us live from Surprise this morning. Dr. Key is an orthopedic surgeon here at the health system. And for more than a decade, he has been the top doc for the Royals, both the medical director and head team physician. Dr. Key, I know there is a 2-hour time difference this morning from Kansas City to Arizona, so a huge, ginormous thank you for getting up with us. How you doing down there?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, it's dark. There's some light, but it's dark, but it's fine. It's fine.
Well, I know you're super busy these days, so thanks for getting up before the sun and hanging with us for a bit. It's a really exciting time, so glad to have you. If you have questions for Dr. Key, make sure you get those sent into us on YouTube, Facebook, and the Medical News Network. You can find links to all of those right there on your screen. Well, we've got a lot to get to today. Let's start with the biggest change for every major league team: pitchers on a clock. Like a shot clock in basketball. Once a pitcher has the ball, he has 15 seconds to start the throw, 20 seconds if there's a runner on base. It is already speeding up the games. Dr. Key, from a health perspective, does speeding up the pitchers affect the arms or joints more than before?
Well, I think the thing is, the number one thing is a lot of these kids that are down here, the pitch clock and things of that nature were instituted in the minor leagues last year. So from a major league level, it's going to be a first. I think it will speed up the game. It keeps the game moving in terms of them not being able to sit between innings. I don't think it'll really affect the overall health of their shoulder and elbow very much, but especially in cold weather, things of that nature, it'll definitely help.
So from a fan perspective, do you like this pitch clock idea?
Well, I think it's fine. I think, again, speeding up the game, the games can get pretty long. And it's hard, not only for the fans that are my age, but especially the little fans that are, 7, 8, 9 years old. There's only so much cotton candy and hot dogs that you can have. So I think overall, speeding up the game will be a good thing.
Yeah, I like that person. I'm a parent, too, of young ones, so I get that. So casual fans, though, might not really think about the force, that major force involved in a pitch. So help us understand how much stress a fastball puts on the arms, the elbows, the shoulders.
Well, I think, the big thing is the torque. It's not natural to throw a baseball. So there's a lot of peak force, sometimes 3,000, 4,000 meters per second being torqued in the arm when you're throwing a baseball. So again, a lot of stress, and it's very important that we get so focused on the elbow that all the other things are right to decrease the force it's being transmitted to the elbow. So that's a big thing. Everyone just really concentrates on the elbow, but a lot of times when you have injuries, the elbow is really a victim of everything else not being right. So it's imperative that we get all those other things right, whether it be the shoulder, whether it be the shoulder blade, your core, your lower half, because most people don't understand to be able to throw a baseball at the velocity that these guys are throwing, that you have to really have a strong core, you have to have a strong lower half.
So, Dr. Key, you're the Royals medical director, as we know, but you also treat the everyday athletes. We caught up with one of your patients. He's a pitcher from Ottawa, Kansas. He tore an elbow ligament, and his dad and him talked with us about what it's like having Tommy John surgery and then going through rehab.
My name is Titus, and I had Tommy John surgery. There was like a pretty prominent pop when it happened. It really didn't hurt that bad, so I just stopped throwing after it and then noticed it like a week later. The throwing wasn't the same.
Just from being in baseball for a long time, when you hear about the pop, I mean, an elbow can pop without any damage, but you kind of thought that there would be some damage. And then after a week, when he still wasn't feeling better, you know, we went in, had the MRI, and did all that, and no, it wasn't fun.
When you threw on Tuesday, it was still just fastballs and changeups?
Yeah.
My name's Kyle Veazey, and I'm a physical therapist at the University of Kansas Health System. I'm not sure if it's fortunately or unfortunately, but I have athletes who've had Tommy John surgery on my schedule 5 days a week. This is not the treatment I would do on every single person. This is only a select few athletes who I feel like would tolerate and benefit from this treatment really well, and he is one of those.
Kind of like you got long fingernails and you're scratching yourself kind of hard. It's kind of what it feels like. He feels super professional because it always sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and I'm pretty sure he does. Explains everything pretty well.
At the end of the day, it's all about the athlete and helping their arm recover and helping them feel the best they can. And nothing I felt has me worried or concerned or felt way different today than it has.
It's been feeling better too, so.
Physical therapy has been very long. 3 days a week, 2 days a week, on and off, on and off, on and off. His first 90% bullpen, he hit 90. And then it didn't feel so good. But he hit 91 the next time. And then it didn't feel so good. And it's just up and down, up and down.
Hey, everybody.
How are you?
How are you?
Good.
How you doing?
Good. No, Dr. Key's been great, and Kyle's been awesome. So it's just comforting to see and to know that they know what they're doing.
Play your position, be a good teammate, get through the year, get to the SEC. Let's go.
You know, him going to Kentucky, he's going to be able to learn from some of the best coaches around, play against some of the best competition in the country. And he's got to continue to work hard, which he does.
I got the God-gifted talent to do it, so I think I just got to work hard.
Back out live in Surprise, Arizona with Dr. Vincent Key at spring training. So, Dr. Key, Jake seems like he has a bright future in pitching, right?
Yeah, this kid is an absolute stud. I didn't know anything about him, but then, you know, people were like, hey, do you know this kid? Hey, this kid hurt his elbow. Do you know of him? And I'm like, oh, you know, I mean, when you have a kid that's, you know, throwing in the mid-90s in high school, a lot of people are going to perk up. And, you know, Kentucky is going to get a gem in this kid. And hopefully I'll see him on my radar come draft time.
That's what I was going to say. He's gonna be fun to keep an eye on and watch. So are kids throwing harder these days, or just can they throw harder these days?
Well, I think there's just been the evolution, if you will, of these kids. They're a lot bigger, a lot faster, a lot stronger. But the other thing is there's been this absolute thing about velocity, and everyone's trying to throw harder. It's funny how I think to some degree we've gotten away from pitching, and it's just a lot of kids are throwing. So with these kids trying to find velocity any way they can, couple that with the size of these kids. You know, we have kids 6'6", 6'7", 6'9", throwing a baseball. You know, there invariably is going to be some injuries that occur.
So it's not just the doctors caring for Royals. Athletic trainers are there. They're day in and day out. We ask players how important those athletic trainers are to them. Here are their answers, starting with a pitcher who missed all of last year with a back injury.
I mean, after the year I had, they mean everything to me. They're just, you know, the support system that you need, and they're the people that you need to make sure you're performing at your top capability, and all of them are always willing to help with open arms, so they're incredible.
I think at times as athletes we just want to run and gun and keep going, and we think more is always better. So just having those guys there to remind you, hey, you got to manage your workload, and it's a long season. So usually they're right.
Those guys are the backbone, man. They keep the guys out on the field. Their work is invaluable, and it often goes unnoticed unless something goes wrong, and then people try to point the finger. But these guys work as hard as anybody, and they have the most education of anybody in that room too. So you respect a lot of what they do.
Any bother or something I don't feel comfortable with, I let them know, when they make sure they fix it.
They keep me on the field. They do a great job getting us ready each day, recovery, working out things, soft tissue. They really are the magic workers that make us play every day.
And we are so glad to bring in the head athletic trainer for the Kansas City Royals, Kyle Turner. Kyle, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Doing well. Thank you.
Good. I know. I thank you so much for getting up early with Dr. Key. We appreciate it very, very much. I know it's been a long week, and you got more to come. So we just heard those players literally singing your praises. Athletic trainers, probably the hardest working members of any pro sports team. How many hours are you putting in every day?
Probably right now anywhere between 12 and 16. By the time we get here in the morning, get things set up, we also take care of ourselves. Most of us try to work out in the morning so we can kind of get our own engines running, and then by the time we wind down at night, it's usually 6, 7 o'clock in it's spring training day. So, and unfortunately, it's usually 7 days a week.
Yeah. And then you get up at 5 a.m. to hang out with us in the morning. So we appreciate you sliding us in. How do you help players recover after the game? What kind of work you doing?
Well, it's very player dependent. Pitchers and position players are usually a lot different depending on kind of their workload and what's going on. Most of the pitchers will come out of the game, starting pitchers especially, and do an exercise program when they come out, and then we start the recovery process for their next time through the rotation. So a lot of them will get some soft tissue work and contrast and hot and cold therapy and other modalities that we have to offer, and they're usually in the training room every day in between, and it's a combination of work, athletic training work, but it's a lot of hard work on their end. They're doing a lot of activity for recovery.
And part of that work is the prehab. Talk to us about prehab. How do players prevent some of those injuries?
Well, it's a lot of balance, in everything they do. We love to have the muscles strong and them being very, very powerful, but they can get too powerful. So we need to have a good balance in mobility and strength, along with the health and nutrition and the way they're living their lives off the field. Plays a very, very important role in how they recover in between starts or in between outings or every single day. The baseball is very unique in that it's one of the only sports that plays every day. So we have to really focus on movement and recovery, nutrition, sleep, and the whole gamut of health.
Kyle, we asked players if they have a favorite pre-game stretch. Here's what they had to say.
I actually learned from one of my strength coaches back with Boston the butt walk, which really gets your low back separated and kind of stretched out.
Anything for me with getting my internal hip rotation, hip switches, all that stuff, really helps me keep my lower back healthy, and I've had some issues there in the past. So making sure my hips are working good and doing my foam rolling and my getting the lacrosse ball in there.
Stretching is also important, but for me, I'm more of a soft tissue guy. It just takes out any knots I may have in my back or scap, keeps my body loose, fresh as I can, through 162 games.
Okay, Dr. Key, Josh Taylor said he likes the butt walk. Are you going to demonstrate, or are you going to tell us what that is?
Nah, I'm not going to demonstrate the butt walk.
What is it?
Yeah, there's all. You know what? I'd have to have him show me, because there's people call different things, different things, and so I don't exactly know what the butt walk is, so I'll have to talk to him about it.
Okay, put that on the list for later. It's a little too early for the butt walk, I think, for you, for sure. So, Kyle, some players said they prefer soft tissue work instead of stretching. So what are they talking about with those type of workouts, and how does that help?
Well, it's a combination of kind of massage with movement. A lot of things we do is active release therapy, and so guys are kind of moving through movement patterns and gaining mobility in their arms and bodies, in combination with soft tissue, as we call kind of massage is the general term for it.
So Kyle, you've been doing this a long time, 14 years with the Royals. How has technology and technique improved over time?
Oh, I'd say tremendously. There's been modalities in the game forever, but it's kind of ironic is that what's worked 25, 50 years ago, you know, there's photos throughout the league in athletic training rooms of Mickey Mantle and Babe Ruth laying on the table with a heat lamp and the athletic trainer giving them a massage, and we're still kind of doing the same thing today as far as that goes. But technology, we have to, I mean, we have to stay up on top of it. With every year there's something new in the elements and modalities, and we have to be very versed in keeping up with technology and keeping up with the trends of the game as well.
Mm-hmm. So we talk prehab. Let's talk rehab and physical therapy. We hear athletes call it a grind. Dr. Key, how would you describe it?
It's a grind in the sense of a lot of times for these athletes, it's a black box. They don't know in terms of therapy what they're going to, be into, right? And so I think the thing is, it's imperative not only for me, but more importantly for Kyle, to be able to walk these players through what they're going to experience. And I think if they can get a gist of it, and it's a partnership, it's a three-pronged approach between myself, Kyle, and the athlete. And if everyone's in the same boat, literally paddling the same, the same place, the player tends to trust you a little bit more in terms of that. They tend to accept it because there's times when it is a grind, and there's times when it's actually boring, that you can get a little bit bored. So I think, in the grand scheme of things, like I said, it's that three-pronged approach to get that athlete to kind of buy in.
So there has got to be a mental side of working through an injury. Kyle, how do you help support an athlete's mental health? You're spending that personal time with them, and you're right there. How do you work through that with them?
I think the number one thing we try to do is set up realistic expectations for the athletes, for the players. Every injury comes with a timeline, and really set up the expectations up front so that they know what to expect along the way, and help guide them through the process. I'm fortunate to been around and doing this in baseball for 25 years now, and we have an idea how long things take, and really just kind of guide them through the process and keep them integrated in the team aspect. Keep them integrated at home. It's very important for them to let them live their lives off the field. And then probably the biggest thing is keep them off Amazon, because there's a lot of downtime in the rehab process. So they tend to buy a lot of things during rehab. So just setting them and teaching them the process. So.
Or Clash of Clans. Yeah. That was a big one in 2014, 2015. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know what they're doing in there. So we also asked Royals players to give one piece of advice to youth and high school players who want to make it in the majors. Here's what they said.
You're not always going to believe in yourself. That's kind of a lie, I think, when you hear these big leaguers talk about how they always believe in themselves and they always knew they were going to be Major League Baseball players. And maybe it has been for some guys, but for me that hasn't been the case. Certainly been my fair share of doubts and struggles along the way. So you just got to persevere and and keep going and trust that you're going to find it eventually.
Develop a routine, something you can consistently do day in and day out. I feel like in the big leagues, that's what keeps you healthy, number one, and also whether you have a good day or bad day, you have a consistent routine to where you're preparing yourself and you're feeling 100% for that day.
Just go out there and work hard, play with a lot of heart, and just give it your all, honestly.
Don't be afraid to take advice, because even if it doesn't work for you, try it, and if it keep working at it, and if it doesn't work, then don't do it. But you don't want to miss an opportunity at something that might be able to help you.
High school baseball season is starting, so of course we want tips from both of you. Dr. Key, I'll start with you. What should young players do to prevent getting hurt?
I think it starts not just when the season starts, it starts before then. And I think the biggest thing is, when do you start getting ready for the season? Most of the time the high schoolers start their tryouts are the first week in March. So the pitchers should be starting to get their arms ready at the end of December, first part of January. I usually say 8 weeks before. If it's a position player, probably about 6 weeks before. And if they can kind of prime the pump and get their bodies ready, because the one thing that happens is that the intensity and the volume go up. And if your body isn't ready to do that, it's like, again, priming the pump, then invariably something's going to happen. You'll get some strain, you'll get some inflammation, your shoulder will flare up, your elbow will flare up, something will happen. And in this day and age, especially in Kansas and in Missouri, where the baseball season is very short, we're not in Florida or California, then, if you have to be shut down for 2 weeks if you're a pitcher, and then you have a 2-week throwing program to get through, then that's 4 weeks. You've lost a third or a half of your season. So, it's the prehab protocol, I think, that's very, very important.
What advice do you all have for a young pitcher who wants to have a faster fastball?
You go, Tizzle, because
Gonna make me answer that.
Yeah.
It's with anything, strength training, mechanics. I think, and then making sure that their body can truly handle that load. The increased velocity is crucial. We don't want our young players to get velocity too fast. Otherwise, they're inevitably going to be in Dr. Key's office. So it has to happen over time. It has to happen as their bodies mature and develop. And seeking velocity at a young age is probably not the best answer. But it is through strength training. Strength training and long toss. There's a lot of different programs available to kids now to gain velocity, but I caution that they don't do it too quickly because their bodies aren't ready to handle it.
Yeah. I think
guys, hang tight. We are live in Surprise, Arizona. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Key.
No, what I was going to say is, and KT's right, is that these kids got to learn how to pitch first. Learning how to put a ball in a certain spot is neuromuscular. That's something that's learned over time. Some of these kids, they'll be 5'2" one day and 6'2" the next day. So with their size, that velocity, some of the velocity is going to invariably come. It's just, the thing is that being able to put the ball exactly where you want to put it, when you want to put it there, is neuromuscular, and that's learned over time.
Good to know. Great advice, guys. Hang tight. We're live in Surprise, Arizona. We're going to get a quick check on our COVID count from Dr. Dana Hawkinson, Medical Director of Infection Prevention and Control. Good morning. I'm a little jealous. It looks kind of nice down there, doesn't it?
Now they have some sun coming up. So
I know. It's getting us in the spring mood for sure.
It's always good to see and hear Vince for sure. He's done such a wonderful job. Always good to work with him as well. Right now for the COVID count, we've been about steady. I think we are trending down a little bit. 51 total, but 30 active. Unfortunately, still a high proportion in the ICU, 7 in the ICU, and 2 of those on the ventilator as well.
So, Doc Hawk, I want to talk to you about something. The CDC shared some new numbers yesterday showing maternal mortality spiked during the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Deaths connected to pregnancy or childbirth jumped nearly 60% between 2019 and 2021. Quite frankly, there was already a shameful mortality with pregnant women in the U.S., as we already knew. But what about COVID just made it so bad for pregnant moms and new moms?
Yeah, this is pretty stark, and it is extremely unfortunate. The death rate, the maternal death rate, has been increasing since 2019. And unfortunately, we understand that the hardest hit communities are those with the highest discrepancies in the access to care. Right now, what this shows is that maternal death rate has continued to increase since 2019 through 2020 and 2021, but also the starkest increase has also been in those non-Hispanic Black mothers or communities, and that, I think, is one part of the pandemic which we have seen as well, and it continues to be unfortunate. The report doesn't necessarily lay out why, it is just reporting the statistics, but I think we can imagine it is multifactorial, and there are many reasons why this occurs, and again, it is unfortunate living in this country. We need to continue to help improve the public health and the medical infrastructure so that we can get access and give access to everybody that needs it, especially those young mothers and certain communities, specific communities as well.
Yeah, the know better, do much better theory for sure. Dr. Hawkinson, thank you for that. Any reporters on the line today? Let's get to our community questions. And Kyle, first one is for you. Angie wants to know, how are players' bodies different at the end of 162 games in a season compared to where they sit right now?
They are completely run down and fatigued, and most of them will go home for a week and hardly move. Their bodies and body weights, their entire body composition changes from day one to the end of the season. There's not a guy in our clubhouse that's not worn down at the end of 162.
Kyle, Jeremy wants to know, in the same way that we all avoid leg day, even when we know we shouldn't, what is the thing the athletic trainers always have to kick the pros into doing?
It's kind of different per guys. You know, a lot of the pitchers will come out of a game and throw 7 or 8 innings and not want to do their shoulder programs, but we strongly believe in it. They develop routines. I'll be honest with you, they all kind of enjoy working out and doing that part of the job. I think the toughest thing is actually slowing them down sometimes and letting their bodies recover. Teaching them to do that end of it is as much as it is to teach them to work and get them to work. It's actually getting them to slow down and recover.
Dr. Key, Chris wants to know, last question, what are a couple of the big things you're looking for in these preseason games?
A lot of it for me, for the pitching standpoint, even from the hitting standpoint, is volume. Some of it is based on how they came into camp, you know, what their regiments have been coming into camp. But for the most part, guys are ready to come and compete. So, like KT said, a lot of the time, sometimes it's kind of holding them back a little bit, and not letting them work too much, too fast, too soon. That's where sometimes little sprains and strains can kind of come into play.
Guys, I want to get your final thoughts, but you may be a little sleepy, but we're really cold here. It's actually snowing in Kansas City. It was 25 degrees when we came in this morning, so I feel bad, but not that bad for you getting up early. But we certainly appreciate it. Kyle, let's get your final thoughts from Surprise, Arizona this morning.
No, just we're all excited to get going, get back to Kansas City, and get to opening day. Our biggest thing right now is to end healthy, keep our roster intact, and so everybody can start on time and be ready to go. And I think we're on a good path to do that right now.
Good to hear. Keep our guys healthy. We appreciate you, Dr. Key. Final thoughts.
Ditto. I think. You know, the big thing for me being here is this guy right here. I call him K-Tizzle. He makes my job so easy. I do. I mean, you know, this is year 13, I think, and we've been here, you know, the whole time. And these trainers work so hard, and they're so dedicated, and keeping these guys. And these guys see them every day. I'll see them pretty close to every day, but the thing is that I can't I can't do my job without these guys doing their job. And these guys are the best of the best. And, you know, we've been recognized in baseball as providing excellent health care for these athletes. And, you know, there's teams that come to Kansas City, wait to come to Kansas City to get some of their health care at times. So it is really shout outs to these guys because, like I said, they're in the trenches doing the work. I'm along for the ride at times, and it's just a collaborative effort. I think is the big thing, not only for us and for them, for the health system, and these players really appreciate it. They really do. You know, some of our collaborators within the health system, I don't think necessarily hear it, but I'm telling you, these players really appreciate the health system and the collaborative effort that we've built.
Guys, thank you so much. That would be Kay Tizzle and Dr. Key live from Surprise. I guess that's your D Hizzle. Is that?
He'd be Vince Kizzle.
Yeah, but you're D Hizzle.
Yeah, maybe.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Thanks to our guests.
Doc Yave.
Guys, you're slap happy. Go get a nap.
That's right.
Go get your nap. A very quick one.
Right.
Enjoy a nap outside in the nice weather.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thanks.
Final thoughts. Thanks to our guests. You know, I think it looks good. Makes me feel happy to see them out there in the sun, knowing that we are here in the bitter cold. Just want to wish everybody a safe Friday, a safe St. Patrick's Day. If you are out, remember to bundle up and stay warm, and also safe weekend. We know it'll be a big weekend for a lot of people as they will be either out or watching the NCAA tournament games.
Yeah, big weekend.
Yep.
Gonna be fun. All right, thanks to all of our guests and to all of our viewers. Great questions today, and for being with us. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here Monday at 8.
Subscribe to our morning medical update and open mics with Dr. Stites podcasts. Now everywhere podcasts are available.